Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of KFFB's Open Mic program. It is Severe Weather Awareness Week with the National Weather Service in Little Rock. We do have warning coordination meteorologist Dennis Cavanaugh. And Dennis, I've learned a lot this week. One is I don't want to run outside when it's lightning, and flooding, turn around, don't drown. So you're teaching me here. But this is a topic that I tell you, 20 years ago in north central Arkansas, you'd say tornado warning. A lot of people weren't listening. But when we had that big tornado, it came in 2008. That went from Russellville to Missouri. Yeah. Since then, it showed a lot of people what the destruction, and they take it serious now. Let's talk about what tornadoes are and the frequency of these.
The definition of a tornado is a violently rotating column of air in contact with the storm and the ground at the same time. And the weird thing about tornadoes is you can never see the edge of a tornado. So once a tornado is doing damage, you can see the debris that it's kicked up, and you can see the water that gets sucked up inside the tornado. But the actual size of the tornado is at least 2 times as large as what you see as a cloud or the debris. And at times it can be 10 times larger than what you see as the cloud. So if you see a tornado, if you're close enough to actually see one, you really got to take it seriously, get to a safe shelter, because you could get inside that tornado and not realize it until you're getting hurt. So tornadoes are dangerous, but we can take precautions to help keep ourselves safe by making good decisions.
And that's why one thing we need to explain a little bit when we're on the radio, and we always say, hey, there is a tornado warning for such and such county. There is a rotation within the storm. The hazard of this is 60-mile-an-hour winds. Could be thus. Sure. And that's what we're saying. When we say it's a rotation within the storm, break it down for our listeners.
Yeah, so and it's kind of a limitation of Doppler radar, actually, is we can only see rotation where it's raining. So we can see rotation within the storm base where the rain is swirling around at the bottom part of a thunderstorm. But the thing about tornadoes is that occurs below where it's raining. That actually occurs as part of the updraft part of the thunderstorm where there's no rain. So on radar, we actually can't see a tornado. There's no way for us to see it. We can see the rotation above where the tornado is likely going to form, but we don't know if there's a tornado or not for sure unless somebody has eyes on it, which is why we try to train storm spotters all over Arkansas, or if we see debris. Once debris gets lofted up several thousand feet in the air, that shows up on radar. But of course, we don't want to wait until we see debris to issue warnings, because that means it's already too late for somebody. So ideally, we issue warnings when we see a strong rotation at the cloud base. And what gives that warning more meat for people to really pay attention is, people in the local community reporting what they see. And so we rely on that. Storm spotters, volunteer firefighters, emergency managers, local media. If you see something and you let us know, we can put that in a warning, and people are much more likely to believe it, take it more seriously, and then get to cover.
When you also see a rotation within a storm, that's something that you may issue a tornado warning, but then it doesn't continue. Sometimes it comes and goes. That's why.
Yes.
And then if a tornado, if there's a warned area, if it is one that's on the ground, that's when you update and you update and you update as it moves across the county or multiple counties.
Yeah, if we have actionable information, if we have word from the ground that yes, there's a tornado and it's doing damage, we can provide frequent updates based on what we're learning about what's happening as that warning progresses. If we don't get updates or we don't see debris, we don't have any new information to add to the warning. So the more reports we get, or if we see debris on radar, that gives us new information to put into that warning. So you're right, when we get updates, that means somebody's got eyes on something dangerous, and so we update that warning more frequently.
And then there's an F1 to F5.
Yes.
Explain that.
How we rate the damage that tornadoes do, it's called the Enhanced Fujita Scale. And basically that can be anywhere from an EF0 to an EF5, depending on the amount of damage and the degree of damage that's done. Unfortunately, we don't have a way to know how strong the tornado is while it's active. So that's something we can only assess after the storm has passed. And then we go out either that night or the next day to look at the damage. And so what we do is we actually, at the National Weather Service, we look at the amount of damage that was produced, and we can relate that back to how strong the winds were. And so an EF0 to an EF1, that's going to be something that can knock down trees, peel shingles off your roof. EF2 to an EF3, that's going to start taking your roof off, going to knock down most of the external walls. EF4 to an EF5, that's a violent tornado. And they're also pretty rare. But when they occur, they basically level homes to their concrete slabs. those are the ones where you see the most fatalities. Luckily, they're also extremely rare. The most common tornadoes are the EF0s and the EF1s. But when we get those violent tornadoes, it's truly a tragedy. People really have to be in a very good position to shelter themselves in order to survive a tornado of that magnitude.
All right. Well, tomorrow we're going to be talking about severe thunderstorms. Today, tornadoes. Yesterday, lightning. And Monday, we talked about flooding. It's all going on for the severe weather awareness. Dennis, appreciate you dropping by.
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk.
All right, thanks, Dennis. We're going to have this on our YouTube channel and also KFFB.com. Stay tuned. Coming up next, we have Congressman French Hill. His open mic continues on Timeless 106.1 KFFB.